Get ready to show your red, white, and blue this Memorial holiday. Hi guys, it's Michelle from My Craft Source. Don't you want to create something awesome like this? Well, now you can. Just grab those free SVG files that I posted in the comments and grab you some red, white, and blue, and let's go get creating. I'm going to go over using some of these free SVG files that I just posted for you guys to download. So these are the Memorial Day SVGs, and the link will be posted in the comments of this video, so make sure you go by and snag those. So I decided to make the unicorn SVG that I created. I'm going to use 3 different layers for my design, and because it's Memorial Day, we have red, white, and blue. And I wanted to use the holographic because I thought a little sparkle, a little shine, you know, the whole fireworks thing, I think that would be a perfect addition to brighten up that unicorn design. Grab you some Siser holographic, grab you some white EasyWeed, weeding tool, some scissors, and let's get started. So to begin with, my first layer is my EasyWeed white. I'm just going to trim it down to a manageable size, and I'm going to weed away any excess vinyl that I'm not going to be using. We want to make sure we've got our heat press preheating, or our iron, or our easy press, whichever heat tool that you want to use. Make sure it's preheating in the background while we do this. That way you'll be ready to go. So just remember, you can customize these SVGs to be whichever color you want to use. Maybe you don't want to use the holographic because it's a little bit more difficult to weed. That's fine. You can switch it out for EasyWeed or glitter or any other heat transfer vinyl. I think they'll all look great. Alright, so we have our white layer weeded away. Here you can see. When we made our cuts on the dull side of the vinyl, and the shiny side is what was loaded down onto the mat. And then next we're going to do our red holographic. Same situation here. You put your colored side face down on your mat when you load it into your cutter, and your cuts are made on the gray side. So let's go ahead and weed away any excess on our holographic. It's a little bit more difficult to weed holographic than it is EasyWeed, especially if you're used to using EasyWeed all the time. Then you're going to get a little bit of a shock when you start doing the holographic weeding. One of the tricks that I use when I'm cutting my holographic is I do a double pass, and that helps to ensure that the blade has cut through all the little layers, because holographic is made up of a few metal layers to get that kind of shiny effect that they've got. So they've put in metallic layers on top of each other to kind of capture the light as it shines through it. And that's kind of why it's a little more difficult to cut, because it's little metal flakes that your blade has to be able to cut through. With the holographic, it's definitely recommended to make a few test cuts before you proceed with cutting out your design, because every machine's different and every blade is different. So what works for me might not work for you. And with holographic being so finicky about its cuts, it's definitely worth doing the test cut instead of having to ruin all that hard work or that perfectly good piece of vinyl that you've got. There we go. So now I've got my red layer weeded of my holographic. I'm going to lay it right on top of my EasyWeed white, just so you can get an idea of the layers that I'm going to be applying onto my shirt. So you can kind of, oh, guess what? I forgot to take out the stripes of my stars. So you can layer holographic on top of EasyWeed, but it's not recommended to layer anything on top of the holographic. So keep that in mind when you're creating your layers. So I put white as my first layer, so that way when I remove any of this red stripes, the white will show through and be the stripes of my flag. Okay, so there's one set of stripes. Next set is coming right up. Okay, so now I'm officially done with my red layer. And now I'm going to lay it right on top of my EasyWeed so you can get a picture of how it's going to look as I apply it to my shirt. Alright, that already looks cute. That kind of reminds me of a candy cane or something, but once we add the blue, then it'll start looking more patriotic. So my last layer is my blue holographic. So I'm going to go ahead and start weeding that away as well. So this one's got my stars in it. So that might take me a minute to weed all those stars out. But this will have my eyelashes and my focal point star. Alright, so there's a few spots that are giving me a hard time here where the cut might not have gone through far enough, or where it might have skipped just a little bit when cutting. So that's when I go and take my weeding tool and I just run it along those cut lines to help loosen that cut, so that way it won't rip the holographic vinyl as I'm pulling it. So it's really helpful to kind of assist it along a little bit from time to time. Alright, so there's my blue. Now I just got to get all the cavities out of my star to get the little blue stars out. So these might be a little more difficult to weed away because they are tiny, and holographic's not very great for detailed things, but if you take your time and kind of assist it along, then you'll be fine getting these small little cuts done. And also make sure you do that double pass on your cut settings. The double pass makes a world of difference, especially if you're trying to do the rhinestone effect that holographic is great with. So you can cut little circles out of the silver crystal color, and it looks exactly like a rhinestone, but then you don't have that rhinestone 3D effect going on that, you know, falls off in the dryer or rubs on things. You get a nice flat rhinestone effect. So you could do some pretty neat things with the holographic as long as you just are aware of the difficulties of working with it and take your time while using it. Sometimes it's worth that little extra pop of color. But they say no pain, no gain. So I'm going to say this is the little bit of pain that we have to endure in order to have our awesome shirt. Alright, we're working towards the last few stars here, and then we'll be ready to get these adhered to our shirt. Okay, so I've got my blue layer completed. I'm going to lay it right here over top of my white so you can get an idea of what it's going to look like once we press it. I think it's adorable. Who wouldn't love this patriotic unicorn shirt? I know my daughter would love it. Okay, so our press has been preheated. For our EasyWeed, you only need to preheat it to 305, and we're just going to do a 1 second tack. So this is our white layer, is our EasyWeed. So one of the things I like to do when using kids shirts, because this is going to be a kid size shirt, is use this heat press pillow. That's going to ensure that I get all my seams pressed with an even pressure. So you can use a home iron. If you're going to use the iron, then you just want to turn it to the cotton linen setting and let that preheat. But I'm going to use a press today, and I'm just going to go ahead and place my design in the center of my t-shirt. Once I'm happy with the placement of my design, then I'm just going to cover it with a Teflon sheet and tack it for 1 second just to set that first layer. With EasyWeed, we can peel it hot. So I'm going to go ahead and take that off and peel that first layer off. And there you can see my white is already on my shirt. Next, I'm going to go ahead and do my red layer. This is holographic, so this has to be set at 320 degrees. So make sure your press is preheated to 320. Okay, so I've got it lined up, sticking it back on the press, and I'm going to cover it before I set it. And we're just going to tack this as well for 1 whole second before I do my next layer. By tacking these layers, it's preventing the shirt from shrinking and shifting the design any. It's also keeping our vinyl from getting overpressed. So with the holographic, we do have to let that cool off completely before we peel it away. So you can go do an errand, grab a cup of coffee, something like that in between while you wait. If you're in a hurry, you can turn it upside down and kind of rub it on a cool surface, and that'll help cool it down a lot quicker. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and peel away our holographic carrier sheet. That way we can go ahead and put our blue holographic layer on top of this. So I've got my proper placement here. Just going to stick it under the press and cover it with your Teflon sheet. And here we go for our full 15 seconds. So you can use a home iron for both the EasyWeed and the holographic. You just have to make sure you're applying enough pressure to make sure that that vinyl adhesive is getting all the way pressed into the material of your shirt. So this is got to cool off completely now that I've pulled it off the press, because remember, holographic has to cool completely before you can remove the carrier sheet. So I'm just going to let this sit here. I'm going to turn off my press. Alright, so now that this has cooled down completely, I'm going to go ahead and peel my carrier sheet. And there you have it. Don't you just love the way this holographic sparkles on this unicorn t-shirt? It's perfect for a Memorial Day celebration. I hope you all enjoy, and I can't wait to see what you create with them. Make sure you post a picture of your projects in our comments so I can see all the great things that you're creating. See you guys around.